You will only want attention from others if you never receive attention from your parents or the home you grew up in. That unmet emotional needs from your early years will follow you into adulthood, but it manifests differently for everyone. Our worth becomes attached to success, how much money we make, the fancy materials that we can buy, beauty, our relationships. All that proves to the world you can do it or that you have got your life together. But that doesn't change the internal dilemma you battle silently. So, why we crave validation in the first place? Validation isn't just about compliments or praise. It's about being seen, being acknowledged. It's about feeling like you matter. Validation reaffirms that you are important. Now, for a lot of us, that sense of mattering was never fully present in childhood. Maybe your parents were emotionally unavailable. Maybe they only paid attention when you performed well in school, sports, or when you suppressed your feelings to make them comfortable. So you learned early on, if I do well, I get love. If I am good, they won't get mad. If I shrink myself, they won't leave. Now, that is not validation, but that becomes survival. And when survival becomes habit, validation becomes your coping mechanism. So the next time you say, I don't need validation from anyone, that usually is a trauma response. We may not need validation in all the things we do, but it's human and only natural to want the people around you to acknowledge you without making you feel less. That's the kind of validation we all need. Welcome back to my channel. I am Vina Raji and I'm a certified trauma healing practitioner and I personally live with complex PTSD, severe anxiety, and deep attachment wounds with barely any support. And after years of doing the real deep inner work, I finally healed. And now I'm here to support others who are going through it because healing shouldn't be something you have to figure out alone. It took me a long time to understand what actually works when it comes to healing our wounds. And now that I know, I'm not here to gatekeep. Now I use a mix of somatic work, EMDR, hypnosis, and energy healing. All powerful tools that go deep. Now, if this speaks to you and you feel called to work with me, just reach out. All my details are available in the info section below, and I look forward to connecting with you soon. Let's dive into the psychology of validation seeking. Here's the thing, validation activates your brain's reward system. Every time someone affirms you, likes your post, praises your work, dopamine gets released. It sends a message to the brain, they see me, they like me. But here's where it becomes dangerous. When external validation replaces your internal self trust, we become addicted to the feedback loop. It's not that we enjoy being seen, it's that we fear being unseen, ignored, unwanted, or not feeling important enough. Everything that we don't want to feel. And that fear begins to drive everything we do in our life, from your career choices, the way you dress, the partners you pick, even your silence in situations where you should have spoken up. And the problem is, this behavior is driven by our subconscious belief, and this is where we begin to do things that make us look good instead of doing things that genuinely feels good to us. The need for validation pushes us to wear a mask that feels acceptable to everyone else while ignoring our own needs. Now let's look at how this shows up in our life, in our career, material, relationships. When we look at our career, you might chase job titles, awards, or burnout level performance, not because it fulfills you, but because it proves something. You think, if I succeed, I'm worthy. And you feel great how people around you would perceive you, hardworking, successful, driven. But success without inner fulfillment will still feel empty. And this is a great example why most people feel empty when they eventually reach the goal they had been chasing all their lives by the time they are their mid 30s to 40s. Have you ever felt like I thought I'll be happier once I have that promotion, that job, only to come home feel like something is missing and I don't know what I want anymore. That's what it looks like when the goal is not sustainable and brings you through inner fulfillment. Now let's look at material possessions. People who shop as a form of coping mechanism when they are stressed is not new. There's nothing wrong with wanting beautiful things, but if your identity depends on how others perceive your lifestyle, you are outsourcing your own value. You're not just buying a handbag, you're buying a sense of belonging. And yes, it feels amazing in that moment, walking out of the boutique with a fancy shopping bag. But that high, it wears off fast. Material things create an image, one that you get to control. And for a little while, that image feels like validation because it signals to everyone success, status, value. But here's the difference: some people with wealth simply live that way. They can afford it and they are not overly concerned about how they are perceived. But for most people, it's all about being seen a certain way, being perceived a certain way. And we see this constantly on social media today, especially among young women or women in general who feel pressured to look a certain way and live up to an unattainable beauty standard. But chasing perception is exhausting and often it's rooted in the need to feel worthy. And next, let's look at relationships. This is a big one. You may not realize it, but you might be constantly seeking emotional reassurance or needing your partner to affirm your worth over and over again. And if they don't, if they are having an off day, if they are not emotionally expressive, your nervous system reads that as rejection, as they're not interested. You think they don't love me when really I don't feel lovable. Now, when it comes to relationships, the need for validation from a partner often traces back to childhood, specifically to the part of you that never received consistent emotional or external validation from your parents. What most people don't realize is that these early experiences get stored not in the logical brain but in the emotional brain, the subconscious. And since about 95% of our behaviors and reactions are driven by the subconscious, we are often not aware that we are still responding from a younger, unmet place inside of us. So, when you enter into a romantic relationship, those unmet emotional needs don't just disappear, they get activated. That younger version of you, the one who felt invisible but not good enough, starts looking to your partner to fill that old void. Now, this is why sometimes, no matter what your partner says or does, it doesn't feel like enough. Even if they care, even if they're doing their best, because what's actually being triggered is the unresolved disappointment you experienced with your parents, not your partner. And your partner, no matter how loving or attentive, can't heal a wound they did not cause. That healing has to come from you showing up for that younger version of yourself in ways your parents couldn't. So the next question is, how do you heal this? The truth is, overcoming the need for validation is not about becoming independent or not caring what people think, but it's about feeling seen and acknowledged when it matters without making another person responsible for your emotions and choices. You will need to build a healthy self concept, self trust that would make you feel comfortable in your own skin. Now, here's what that might look like. First, start catching yourself in the moment. Notice when you're about to post something or say something. Are you doing it from expression or expectation to be seen? Next, reconnect with your own values. But before that, get clear with what your core values are. Ask yourself, would this still matter if no one clapped for me? Does this make me truly happy? If yes, you are aligned. If not, you are seeking approval. And then the third one, which is the most important one, inner child reassurances. Sometimes you need to pause and say to yourself, hey, I see you. I know you just wanted someone to care, but I am here now for you. Now, that voice might feel awkward at first. Believe me, I've done it so many times. It is awkward, but that's the voice you needed back then. So you learn to give it back to yourself now in the present moment. And the more you practice this, you'll notice the same energy will be mirrored back to you by those around you. And the last one is to build self trust through small promises to yourself. Now, validation often fills the void left by broken self trust. So, start small, keep promises to yourself, finish what you started, not for praise, but to build integrity with your own nervous system. You are retraining your nervous system to do what matters to you, not what others would say. We all want to feel seen. That's human. But when being seen becomes your only source of worth, you will always be one step away from self abandonment. The real healing begins when you stop performing for love and start remembering you were always worthy of it, even when no one was watching, and that is going to require doing the deep inner work, shadow work, to recognize which parts of you are still in hiding that you're afraid to show to the rest of the world. And if this spoke to you, share it with someone who might need this reminder too. And if you are on a healing journey and want support with emotional regulation or inner child work, I do have some free resources and guided tools linked below. And if you are ready to kick off the healing journey and need someone to guide you with deep healing and trauma processing, I do offer one-on-one consultations which are currently available virtually, so I can continue to support you no matter which part of the world you come from. Until next time, take care of your nervous system and remember, you don't need to prove your worth. You just need to come home to it. Take care now. Bye bye.